Jay Nevin Smith and Randy Iser. So we're going to start off with our appointment with the Finance Committee and have a joint meeting with them. So if you guys would like to take your roll call and open up your meeting.
All right, thank you. If I could get a motion from the Finance Committee to open our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Paul, second by Amy. You got to roll call it. Paul?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Shardul?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And in attendance, you just heard them all. Paul Benjamin, Amy Fiden, Shardul Parmar, and Andy Klopacki.
All right, welcome. And we have Linda up here in the front.
Are you ready? Okay, well, Carolyn and I finished up this afternoon a few things. Over the last in the last few years, we have been doing the budget presentation a little bit differently than I had before. We don't go through each budget and say what it is and where the cuts were and all that. We do a more general overview of where we are with the revenues, our projected revenues for next year, what we had available for the budget, generally where we had the additions in revenues, and generally where we made the changes in budget requests, in line with various priorities which are set. Carolyn, town administrator set and select board set priorities and finance committee. So we're trying to keep a number of interests in mind as we go through and take the requests from departments and put it through the filter and see what we come up with. So this year I have a PowerPoint. Jennifer, oh, okay, we have to wait a minute on the PowerPoint, but I will start by going through our revenue projections and then a summary of our budget, where it stands now.
So is this different from where we were at our last meeting? Where we went over some of this and now you.
I did. I'm not going to go through the quarterly where we are year to date. I'm not doing that basic financial, although that will be in the budget book, but that you get. That's where all the detail is going to be. And that's going to be ready within a week, probably by next Wednesday. We've got like about 20 pages left to go. We have to rewrite it from last year. So the spirit of it is the same as what we did last time, but this is going to be more of a more specific presentation on what we did with that information.
Okay, thank you.
Hallie? Thank you. All right, so
You have the clicker there.
oh, I have it. Okay, I go. Okay, what am I pointing at, Jennifer? Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. There we are. Okay. Revenue projections. So these are the revenues that were collected going back to FY21. FY21 was our low point. This was just post-COVID, and you see our increases over the years. We projected for this current year that we're in now 19.6 million. That's the first green column. So far, we've collected 9 million. And we are projecting for revenues $20,895,835 for 25. We have one way I know it's different choice from a few weeks ago is we have been going through those revenues and really working with department heads and trying to get as much out of it as we can without going too far, which would also backfire on us. So the amount of increase in the last column from what was projected for 24 and what was projected for 25 is $1,267,997 in increased revenue from 24 to 25. Now, this page is the budget that we have come up with by category. We have general government, public safety, education, public works, human services, culture and recreation, debt payments and benefits and others. And each of those departments within that general government area will be, each of those departments is itemized and will be in the budget book. And as I also gave to you, sent to the select board and finance committee, there is the long sheet showing for each department what their numbers are. But we think it's very helpful to have this kind of an overview to see where the needs are, where the increases have to be, and what we're able to do for going forward. These are, by the way, the first three columns, 21, 22, and 23, they're not our voted budgets. They're the actual budgets. We find when we meet with department heads, what we do, rather than look what's been voted over the years, what are they actually spending? Not for the purpose of taking money away that hasn't been spent, but just to get an idea of what kind of cushions might be sitting here and there, because you're asking people to budget in January for the next fiscal year, which is July to the following June, and many departments, this is not always possible. Thinking particularly of DPW, what kind of issues are they going to have that come up? How many trees are going to come down that need to be cut? So we're working to see over the last few years in each of those line items, how was it in the spending before? Then we look at what was voted for 24 and where they are halfway through the year. Doesn't mean they should be halfway through their budgets, because that's not how budgets work, but we can compare it to where we were at this time last year, so that we can make then an accurate budget prediction for that department, come up with a budget that is comfortably kind of comfortably within what we would anticipate what they would need, without providing too much extra in a department, particularly this year when our revenues were tight, which I'll go into a little bit more. The first blue column then are the requests that were submitted by departments, 22,259,000. So if you look right under that, the requested increases are 1,500,000 over the year, over what was budgeted for the departments the year before. So if you recall from the prior revenues, and I'll go through that again on the next page, we don't have enough to cover those, enough revenue to cover the budget increases. The town administrator is the next column. After meeting with departments, we met with key departments, the large ones, where we thought we would have be able to make the largest changes, and then sent out the budgets to the rest of the departments, because we are kind of on an accelerated budget, accelerated timeline this year. We're right now sitting about 3 weeks ahead of where we were last year. So we didn't take the time with each department, but if they were satisfied and okay with it, we did not end up meeting with them, although I think Carolyn did speak with every department head in one way or another. Or if they weren't, they would come in and have a meeting with Carolyn. And sometimes there was something we didn't understand about the budget, so some changes were made. Anyways, she was able to if you look at the bottom line, again, the way bottom white line, TA reductions, about 561,000. She was able to reduce. We worked together on that, get the reduction from the requests. And the town administrator total line then for the recommended budget is $21,698,013. So the change in the last white column, which is in white, the change then is that from what was voted in 24 to what's being recommended in 25 by the town administrator. Those changes for each area are in the far right column, and the total change then is $947,277. So this is our balancing the budget page. Each year, 21 to 23, we've got the full voted amounts. This is what actually went to town meeting. We came out from town meeting, and in all cases, I think that this is after the October town meeting, because we usually go back and make some adjustments. So following those meetings and what we operated with the following year, the first line, top line in each year is the amount of revenues that were projected for that year. The second line is the actual voted budgets. And then the third line then is the shortfall. What's the difference between the revenues and the expenses? Quite a bit. If you go back to 21, which again is the year that we were most severely impacted by COVID, We had a shortfall of $1.2 million. 1 million the next year, 877,000 the next year, and the year we're in right now, 1.1 million. It is up a little bit from 23, but I want to remind you, we have over $100,000 in capital that we did move over into the operating budgets. And so give us a little break on that one. Then how do we bridge that difference is the second half of the chart, this bottom half, is where the funds come from to bring that balance out to zero. So if you recall, post-COVID, we moved from stabilization, we used a lot of free cash and this smaller line to balance that out. The next year, we did end up, for anyone wondering, we did end up being able to pay that stabilization account back with those funds. 22, we went into free cash. By then we had the ARPA replacement funds. That was able to bridge our $1 million shortfall that year. 23, we again used ARPA, but you see quite a bit less, 180,000 less in ARPA. And then we were relying on free cash. So the total transfers had come down in 23. And then 24, we have used $1.1 million in free cash. In all cases, all four of these cases, and this year too, the free cash being used is from the cash that we already have certified. This is not a projection as to what the free cash is in the next year. So this year, the blue column FY25, to bridge the $802,000 shortfall, I'm suggesting $55,000 in stabilization. The reason being is that we wanted to, these are the interests that we're balancing, to keep our OPEB contribution up. There wasn't enough additional other revenue but it's the suggestion we have is to use 55,000 from stabilization and to partially fund the OPEB. So it's not really going into an operating expense. It's going from one pocket to another capital pocket. Free cash, we had said at the beginning of this process that the Finance Committee and Select Board want us to certainly start using less of the free cash from year to year. So we are trying to reduce that to 750,000 this year. And of course, we have no ARPA. So that's how we balanced the budget that we have.
Linda, can I ask you to pause for just one moment?
I can't hear you.
Can you pause for just one moment? Alex, I'm going to make you the co-chair or the co-host so you can start letting people in.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Let's see. Just have to get reoriented here. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So this is a new and different slide. And there's a really good reason. There's something I wanted to highlight in what we're doing with the free cash, because I know that that's a lot of free cash that we're using each year. And then we get certified. That's a lot of free cash we're certified at. What's going on? All this cash going back and forth. So I went through for the last few years, I am comparing in each year what we voted and what we actually, and then the actuals for both revenues and expenses. So go back to 21 and you see the shortfall of $1.2 million that we just explained that we had to cover, and we did it through transfers. Then you go to the actuals and you see that our revenues came in about almost 400,000 more than was projected. Our expenses were over 900,000 less than what we expected. So in actuality, our shortfall at the end of the year was $53,000, which means we didn't need $1.285 million to balance that budget, but we had to when we went and we were doing the budget. So On the last line there, the excess or the unused goes back to free cash. Then that free cash becomes available for the next budget. Go into 22. What we voted is in the first column. And we had a just over $1 million shortfall, which we balanced with transfers from free cash and ARPA that year. Then we go to our 22 actuals. And by the time the revenues came in higher and our expenses came well within the budget, you saw we actually, the revenues were enough to cover the budgets. Down at the bottom, we've got the 1.5 million unused cash goes back to free cash. It's available for the next year to use. It's fascinating to me. And I think what I'm trying to explain is this is not millions of dollars that's coming into free cash and then we're spending it on the budget and then we're getting another $1 million in and spending it again on the budget. We're actually allocating that money, the money that we're not using, we're then recycling into the next year and using it again to balance the budget. And that's been working well for us. As we get into 23, FY23, we had a shortfall of 877,000 at town meetings that we had to then balance by using transfers. In actuality, again, the revenues did end up covering the expenses. And this explains why our free cash is so high in July. You say, I thought we spent all that money. Well, we allocated it. So we did spend it, but then it was left over and it came back. I'm not saying that that is our free cash value at the lower level. I'm saying that was available and went into the free cash, but there's a lot more that free cash that goes into it than that. And I also can't say this is going to exactly happen again in 24 and 25. I'm just trying to demonstrate that our goal is that when in our budgeting, our goal is that we want our revenues our projected revenues to cover the budget that we are voting on. We're not at that point, even if we wanted to. There's nothing that we could do to say, hey, we're always $500,000 short. Let's just throw an extra figure in there. We're not like that. We're in a municipality. We're accountable to DOR, and that we have some restrictive conservative regulations that we work under, and we can only increase revenues so much according to the year before. And we never know what our revenues are going to be and how high they're going to be. So we do need to continue budgeting the way we are. But I'm just trying to take a little bit of the concern away from the use of free cash. It's a tool that we use in order to get ourselves into the next year. But anyways, I thought that was very interesting, and I learned something too. Whoops. Sorry. Okay. All right. And this is our final one on the general funds budget. So we have $947,000 available in the budget. Let's see, I think there was one other thing I wanted to point out, though. Let me just say it, that we had, if you recall, because I don't remember where it is in the charts, about $1.5 million or $1.2 million in extra revenue. But in the reduction of free cash this year, since last year we used over $1 million, and this year we only want to use 250,000. For our transfer comparison, we actually have a reduction in over $300,000 in what we would consider the available free cash, available funds to use. So you see we're recommending increases of 947,000, even though you saw on the first page a revenue increase of almost 1.3 million, because we needed to offset it with the reduction in free cash that we're using this year. So Carolyn will. So this is how decisions were made for what we do with the money that we did have to allocate to the 25 budget.
I do want to thank Linda. We put a ton of time into this. Definitely a few Saturdays and some late nights. So my special thanks for all that work. It's an arduous balancing the budget. It did get fun at times for me. But all of this data entry and analysis, I have to just show my appreciation to Linda. So how we approached it was we kind of wanted to go to what can't we control? And that's benefits such as retirement insurance, the OPEB responsibilities that we have now. And so we've got that at the 416,073, and then the debt and interest increases. So that we have to start with those charges first. And then we went to just remind both the finance committee and the select board that our focus that we agreed upon, the select board and the town administrator, was to focus on the wage equity and working to implement, competitive market rates, so that we continue to invest, we continue to retain our employees, but also attract new ones as well. So that compensation study, we are still, we will be waiting to get more details on that. The other factor facing the wages is we have new unions that have started. So those, at least one of them is in negotiations. So we are still waiting to see what that is going to pan out as well. We do have the schools. We spoke with Annie, and we want to thank her for her generosity. And as always, it's just amazing how great it is to work with Annie and the schools. And that is the amount that she is proposing to use to fund her budget, which is a very conservative number. But I just want to remind, there's no layoffs. There's no decrease in services. We don't have a COLA yet. I do want to point that out. We don't have a COLA yet or any set salaries at this point. So that means there is more work to do, but this is our draft budget. And like Linda said, we are earlier than usual. So we still have, there's probably going to be an update in state aid. There's some update from the legislators on opportunities we may have to increase revenue locally. So I just wanted to let you know about that. So that's kind of the summary. It was kind of simple this year in the sense that that was our focus, is the wages. So
Right. So there's more to come,
more to come.
more to come. So we're not picking on public safety and DPW and putting them out as showing that they have increases as compared to town departments. What we're doing is showing that departments with settled
Oh,
contracts
yeah, thank you.
have the wage increases in there already. And then part B there for the other departments, those are all still pending. So we expect that will go up. And we didn't really cut them below prior years. You see a negative number there, but that involves having reduced the finance committee's reserve from $100,000 to $65,000. So it doesn't mean that budgets were cut. There actually were no changes in operations,
No.
even level services, and
I think just a reminder, I mean, since I've been here, the select board has been very supportive of increasing departments, whether it was hours, whether it was staffing, so we've been very fortunate that what they've requested as increases, we've been able to do. This is the first year, and it is across the if you read the newspapers, right, every community is dealing with this issue. So this is the first year. We did not cut anything from last year or this year. This is simply additional requests, which is what we asked them to do.
Yeah, and no layoffs.
And I do want to thank your staff. I would say across the board, everyone's been extremely kind and gracious, and I want to thank all of the staff who submitted budgets.
Linda.
So
Thank you for all your hard work.
that's it on the
Appreciate it.
general fund. Can I just zip through? Let me go through the three
I
enterprise
was gonna
funds.
say you're done, so go ahead.
The poor enterprise funds, they always come in there at the end. But there's one thing I want to emphasize, because this was so important a year ago. You see, these are our actuals going back to 21. Again, the revenues from in the sewer is what's ahead of before you now, and the expenses. And in the enterprise funds, the revenues need to cover the expenses. But they do have reserves, and we dipped into that starting in 22, 23, and 24. 24 is when you did raise the rates because it was just running right out, and we cannot deplete those reserves. And you can see the difference it has made. We are able to project that we're balancing out, coming close at least in 25, And there were increases made over the next 2 years. And so that really was a help. Here we are in water, same thing. The revenue is used to balance it. We had to use 250,000 this year. That's cut in half. And as those increases go in, we will be better off there too. And the last but not least, Alex, is Hadley Media budget, which is also that those revenues are going down. We do not have the ability to raise rates in the Hadley Media the way we do with water and sewer. So we are left to find other solutions, which I think will be topics in later meetings. Something's underway. So to deal with what's going on in Hadley Media, the revenue that we have is really not increasing. The expenses, of course, are increasing, and the services are increasing. How are we going to handle that? That's we're okay for this year. We're okay for next year, but it is something that we don't want to let go of. So now I'm done, Joyce.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
I know, I always jump the gun, Linda.
That's all right. Do you take it from here? Are you all done? I am done. Should I ask if there are questions or?
I was just going to ask Carolyn, so could you talk about, you had brought priorities to us in terms of some additional positions. So could you talk about what's not in this budget?
Yeah, so we had looked at, I think, planning, PT, and so though anything else besides our present organization, it's this year to do it. Did you want more?
No, I just want to make sure people are aware of the fact that, we had talked about priorities being information technology, which would be extremely beneficial and hopefully an actual investment in operational efficiency, right? Making sure that, all of the systems are updated relative to security. I mean, all of the things that go along with information technology. So we're continuing with the outside vendor that we've had, but there was conversation about having somebody in-house again, and with the concept of moving us forward, as opposed to just kind of treading water, so to speak. And then the other one, obviously, that we've been talking about is a town planner / economic development type position, which again would be an investment and hopefully moving the town forward in looking for grants, really driving the conversations about future development in Hadley, instead of that being done with part-time volunteer boards, which is what's happening right now. So, and if you want to talk about revenue and the, future and not, nobody wants to talk about that override word, right? So it's critically important that we focus on the revenue side as well. So yet again, we find ourselves in a situation where we're not able to move that conversation forward.
Well, I think to add to yours is that we have so many other things on our plate. When you're looking at DPW and changing their scope of work down there and their place of work and, other things that are another big project for town, that it's hard to rationalize or ask people to put in another position that is new to them. Maybe needed, but we're also sitting over here where this is needed, more desperately than this at this point, and we may have to just fudge along for a little while to until that can become more of a reality,
But progress has been made. We have the land use coordinator that we didn't used to have. I mean, what we have not been shy in the last few years of budgets. And the use of the free cash has been part of that, and the support for hiring these other positions. I think if we had held back in earlier years, we would be probably closer to our goal of having revenues cover the budgets, but I don't think it's been a problem, as you saw from that one chart. So we have a full-time health director now. The land use coordinator is now serving 3 departments for the first time that have never had support in town hall.
HR director.
And I think just the even adding that, even having additional part-time building inspector. So we anticipate future revenue based on these increases.
Right.
And so that is, I think it's important, maybe I can tell them to an approach that we're going to be making for next year, which we already started, was that We usually get together and see what were revenues from last year and what, the finance team meets and decides what it's gonna be. But we're going to really reach out to the departments that do bring in revenue to give us the estimates. So certainly with the second year of having a full-time, going into the second year of having a full-time health department, they were great. They gave us some estimates that was higher than what we thought.
Mhm.
That was really helpful. Our building inspector is away, but when he comes back, we're gonna be getting a report from that. So I think if we make that a part of our budgeting process, it's gonna help.
So
We're after
After
revenue.
consent.
if
agenda.
we had a planner, economic development person who went after grants,
They're all sitting here.
and that person was
We can think about it.
able to procure grants, could it ultimately pay the salary of that person, the grant operations and management?
That's
Maybe.
maybe, but not significantly, just from knowing, working with other communities that have planners. It's really your admin person who's pulling it all together instead of having to the volunteers do it. So they certainly are aware of things that are out there.
Yeah.
Based on what happens in time.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear, Chuck, I mean, I was poking at that not, it wasn't a criticism at all. It was, I want to make sure people understand that,
Sure.
basically what we're doing this year, as is proposed right now, is I guess we're kind of absorbing and fully digesting changes that have been made over the past couple of years. The new ambulance service coming online,
Right.
so, and right now with that use of free cash, it looks like we're able to, go into this coming fiscal year,
Yeah, that's a
focusing
situation.
in that way. But we're not able to move forward in the other areas that we had highlighted as being a priority. So that will be pushed to another conversation in the future.
But I think it's still important to have identified those priorities. Because we know where we need to go. And that's why in the last couple of years, we were able to put in the positions we did because those had been identified at an earlier point as something that's important.
Mhm.
So,
You always know that the word override's a dirty word
yep.
in any community.
You can't you and I were around for doing the first revenue overrides, that's earlier operational overrides, the town. You can't project the need for an override and then have the town pass it. You have to experience it first. We do want the towns, Carolyn encourages the departments department heads to submit budgets based on on these additional things that they need. And as you saw, over 500,000 of those additional requests could not be met. But you don't want them or anyone else or you or anyone in a town to start thinking about, well, I can't ask for that, or we're never going to get there. Because you have to set those goals and we do get there. Another position was the building maintenance. We're doing a lot more with building maintenance now because we have another full-time person in. And then what else? The support and payroll. HR has grown so much. The HR position itself, although that goes back maybe 3 years. But yeah, so in spite of these conditions, and there are some difficult ones, but we do also have some good increases in our excise. They're doing well, our rooms and meals. And that might be even better, given pending
Legislation.
pending legislation. That might go up to a higher rate, which would be good for the town. And then that would be available. Now we've already identified our goals of what we want to be there. The same time we've been hit by the state local aid is going down on us. And I think at the last time I was sitting here, I said, I used last year's, but we'll expect that to go up. No, it's under last year's by $76. $76,000 already. So that had to come out of the budget. And we were hit with the host community agreements. You're going to have to approach that differently. We had to knock what had been a $125,000 revenue source for us. Projecting into FY25, we had to knock that down to zero. So there's a lot of moving parts.
I guess we'll stay tuned to the next event. Thank you,
Stay
Linda.
tuned, yes. The finance committee?
Oh, hi, David.
Just a question, Linda, on the slide with the fixed increases where it talks about OPEB insurance, I believe, and retirement. Does that number, if I remember, is 400 and something thousand?
Yes. Do you want to know how much was OPEB?
Yeah, is that
OPEB was one. Okay, of that figure, 190,000 is OPEB. Last year it was 180,000. I think the year before 170. So at one point we were at a higher level of contribution. We knocked it down to 0 during OPEB. We picked it back up again at a lower level, and our plan has been to increase it by 10,000 a year. So that's in there at this point at $190,000 and with 55,000 of it coming from stabilization, if that passes, if that's what finance committee and select board approve. So
David, the bulk of that increase is the retirement contribution as well as an increase in medical.
Thank you.
the bulk of OPEB or that big?
He was asking about
Yeah.
increasing that line.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
On the move. We lost him.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so what's next? I don't mean tonight. I mean, like, what's next on the budget discussion, and where do we go from here?
Well, we'll be having another one.
You'll have your books. Finance committee is launching right into meeting with DPW tomorrow night.
Okay.
So I'll be sending those to you manually, those budgets. Budget book itself will be ready for pickup, but I'll also send it, we can send it electronically to you, so you have it. But the books will be available for pickup in town hall. Probably by Wednesday. Give me a week. We got a lot done this past week, so that'll be it. And then finance committee is meeting the next multiple Thursdays to get through. You want to say what your plan is, Dave? You're not going to meet with every budget, with every department either.
No, I don't think we plan on meeting with everybody. We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow night, but once we've had a chance to look at all the departmental budgets and decide if we have any major questions, if there's something that's a minor increase or decrease, we don't want to waste the department head's time unless they want to come see us and talk about their budget. Otherwise, we'll just focus on the ones we really want to drill down on and go from there. Can I just ask the finance committee members? I just want to make sure we have a quorum for tomorrow night. Is everyone going to be able to be there at 6?
I will be there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So we got a quorum. Perfect.
And if I can just bring up the warrant is in your documents. And I think because there's a couple articles that I think I'd like to have you guys take a look at independently, I think in the next few meetings, I will be kind of highlighting what articles we would like some more feedback on. The warrant is the select board's warrant, so and we'll also be bringing some of those to the finance committee to take a look at as well.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
All set.
Thank
Give
you.
everybody, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Great. So we're gonna jump around a little bit on the agenda tonight just to get certain people out of here and
Finance,
be a little more
this finance one adjourned.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we
sorry.
need a motion to adjourn, which I would be
Yeah,
happy.
I do.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. That was a motion by Paul and second by Andy, and I'll roll call it. Paul,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Ardul,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow
Good
night.
night.
Rest of
Good
the
night.
evening.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we're gonna jump down to 5.2, the charter cable renewal contract review. Is he?
May I ask that you pull up the police department real quick for their appointments? No,
Yeah, I think that,
you're gonna do
We
this?
talked about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
yes, Bill's on the line. So.
what's another few minutes for a lawyer?
A lot of money.
Yeah, I guess a lot of money.
I wasn't gonna
A
say
few
it.
bucks, I'll pay for it.
So Attorney August is here. He is here remotely.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you.
You too.
You too.
You too. Short and sweet.
Okay, you want me to begin?
Yes.
All right, when we last spoke, we did have one briefing early in the renewal negotiations. And based on working closely with Carolyn and Alex, we identified the Hadley Media revenue financial situation as our priority issue. And we were at that last meeting seeking approval of the board to negotiate for an increase in the charter payments from the current 4% of charter's annual gross revenues up to the maximum allowed under the Federal Cable Act, which is 5%. And we're very pleased to report that was accomplished. And that's a 25% increase in annual revenues. Alex and the local media community were very pleased, as was Carolyn and myself. That's not a guarantee, but it's of stable funding at 5% because they are it's a guaranteed 5%, but the number of subscribers is trending down a little bit each year due to cord cutting and the demographics of younger populations trending little by little away from cable. So but we'll be at the maximum and we'll be at the 5%. So that's the best you can do for that. So I think it was very successful. That was the priority. In terms of the other many components of the cable license, it's a very comprehensive cable license, with very strong protections in terms of insurance and right-of-way management and maintenance and reporting to the town of the gross revenues numbers that the annual payments are based on, and signal quality standards are incorporated. So there are like 101 other things that are standard. All my firm does is represent municipalities in cable and telecom. And I can confidently say, that this is the good package. I know the charter, now Spectrum representative, John Marr, for probably 20, 30 years. Well, I remember where we were on finishing up renewal. Yeah, for over 20 years. And, he cuts to the chase with me and gives me the solid language. And I know this is, it's fair. It's a down the middle. I want to particularly thank Carolyn, and Alex, who answered, about 100 phone calls from me about, just updating on this change and that change. The other area of greatest concern where Charter is doing what we asked them to do, but they have to do it outside of the license. It's a non-license process. They're applying to the Massachusetts Broadband Institute for a grant to build out Cemetery Road, where there are several unwired households. As a result of, and Carolyn sent John a very strong letter about the need to, and Alex and I helped draft it. So there was a lot of work on getting Charter to commit to apply for this. The state has a program called the Gap Network Program. Because it involves some broadband, which has a cable component, but also a data and internet component. It doesn't really go in the license, in Charter's opinion. But John Marr responded to Carolyn by email saying he had requested the internal engineering estimates to do the grant application, so it was underway. I subsequently got a text from John Marr that the estimates from the engineers were received to do the unwired streets. And John is awaiting his corporate approval to proceed, but he says, 19 out of 20 times they will support his recommendation to proceed. So that's looking very good. The license and I'd like just if Alex can say a word or two, because he's the one who's closest to this package and knows firsthand in terms of the town's interests. But that's my overview. We're doing well. The license expires in March. So I'll probably be following up. I will be following up with Carolyn under state law I think we're at the end of the road with the document. There may be some clerical corrections here. But under state law, we have to have a public hearing before a town approves a license. And there has to be 2-week newspaper notice with 2 successive weeks of the legal ad in the paper you use for that. And there has to be a copy of the proposed license in a public cable file. So there's transparency in case anyone says, well, where's the license? That has to be in the public file as of the first legal advertisement. So, I've done about 100 of those here. I'll work with Carolyn on that. And if it so pleases the select board, because the select board is the licensing authority. And then at that hearing, is to allow the public an opportunity to comment. And then you can close the hearing and there would be a motion on in terms of what to do with the license. Usually it's a simple approval at this stage of the game where we've achieved our primary revenue financial goal. That's all, I have at this time.
Okay. We don't need to vote on anything tonight. Not yet.
No,
Okay.
no, it's just a briefing. Carolyn asked me to give a briefing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure. I'm always available. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Bye.
Vote on that. Ms. Moonbridge will-
Good night,
Okay.
folks.
Good night. So we're gonna do 6.1 with Scott first, or do you want me to do 2 and 3?
Save the fire department.
They got to move on that.
Okay.
Consent items.
All right, so why don't we just, no, come on. Do we want to, let's do 6.2 appointments with the police department. If you'd like to pop on it. Sorry. This is the one time I ever get to exert power.
All right.
Are you acting as the police chief or the assistant TA?
Whatever you decide, just let me know. Send me the check. Okay, so thanks for having us. Most of you recognize Dan Clark sitting next to me from when you brought him back on board about 1.5 years ago. I have known Dan for almost 20 years now. Dan worked with us a long time ago as a part-time police officer. He left for a little while to put in about a decade's worth of work full-time at the Ware Police Department. And decided that he wanted to come back home and work with us. And what I am here tonight is to ask for your permission to promote him. Normally I would sit up here and read about his accomplishments and things like that, but I think it's best served because I've known Dan for so long to tell a story about why and when I realized that Dan was going to be a better cop than me, and why he's going to be a better sergeant than I was. So probably close to 20 years ago, 16, 17 years ago, Dan was hired as a part-time officer for us, and he was actually working part-time in Ware as well. So he had some experience. We didn't have a field training program that long ago, but we did, the couple of sergeants that we had, I was a fairly newly minted sergeant. We tried to kind of ensure that the officers that Chief Huckowitz hired had, some semblance of training. So we'd come up with some exams to make sure they understood the laws, and every once in a while we'd run them through some scenarios and things that that we had dealt with, and just to see how they reacted to it. And so one night late on a midnight shift, we decided to come up with a couple of scenarios to run Dan through. And many of you probably remember Barry O'Connor, who worked with us years ago, and he's a sergeant over in South Hadley now. Barry was playing the role of a juvenile who had taken mom and dad's car for a joyride late at night. And so we had him, kind of drive around the station in the parking lot, and then had Dan pull the car over. And we wanted to make sure that he stopped the car right and parked the cruiser in the right way and set the lights up properly and did the proper approach. And obviously he did all that correctly. And Barry steps out of the car acting like, a juvenile who had taken his parents' car for a joyride. And all of a sudden, unbeknownst to anyone except for Barry, still to this day, I don't know why he did it, Barry took off running. And it's important to note that as he ran towards the elementary school behind the station, he was running through about 2 feet of brand new snow. And so Dan starts chasing him. Now, the rest of us are standing there, A, not knowing what to think, and B, trying our hardest not to laugh, because we're just trying to keep this a serious situation. Barry is running through the snow like a gazelle, and Dan's just trying to keep up with him. Luckily enough, for the lion, every once in a while, the gazelle slips and falls. And that's what happened this time, and Barry disappeared under the snow. Dan walked over, basically picked him up out of the snow and carried him back over and continued to simulate what was happening. They're both soaked, they're both covered in snow. We're all doubled over laughing. And so the next part was, okay, what are you going to do next? And good luck finding a police officer who just had to chase a juvenile half a mile through 2 feet of snow, not saying that they're going to arrest that person and bring him back to the station. But what Dan said was, well, I'm going to sit him here on the bumper of this cruiser, and he and I are going to sit here in the cold, and we're both wet, and I'm calling both of his parents, and I'm dragging them out here in the middle of the night. I'm going to hope they're going to do the right thing. I'm going to explain to them what the consequences could have been, and I'm going to let them take their kid home. Now, I have a pretty good memory. I remember things fairly well, but there's a lot that I've forgotten. But 17 or 18 years ago, in the middle of the night, that response stuck with me. And that's how I knew that Dan had the maturity, the knowledge, and everything that he needed to not only be a good police officer, but to be a good sergeant. And I couldn't be more happy and proud that he wanted to come back and work with us. And what I would like to recommend to the board tonight is I'd like to alter slightly my original recommendation. Normally, when I request to make an acting supervisor, it's because we have individuals who are like really neck and neck, and we're not 100% sure whether or not we want to try different people out in the role. Now, while we had some amazing people apply for the job, Dan is quite clearly the right person for this position. Our policies and our contracts still allow for a very lengthy probationary period if we ever decided to make a different move and make a change. So what I would ask is that the motion be that Dan be made a sergeant at the Hadley Police Department rather than the term acting.
So moved.
Motion by Joyce, seconded by Jane. Is there any further discussion?
I would just like to say thank you. Thank you for coming back. We really appreciate somebody that has your ability, that wants to be a part of our department, because I have been so involved with this department that it's so nice that somebody wants to come back to us and under our realm of our supervisors. And I know you'll do a great job. Thank you.
We're a little different than where.
A little bit.
I used to live on Upper Church Street.
Oh, okay.
I know about Lower Church Street.
Okay, so you do.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Resignation.
Oh, do we have to do a resignation as well?
You're
Right?
just accepting the
Is
resignation.
it- Okay. So that-
I'll move to accept the resignation of Jalen Ruiz.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right, so we're gonna skip 6.3. We're gonna go to 6.1. Scott is on the line with us. We'll keep you very briefly.
Yeah, good evening. Hi, I was approached by the owners of the property on Route 9 Middle Street adjacent to the post office about a drainage problem. I looked at the property a little bit with Randy, and they have, a lot of water there sitting in the parking lot. Most of it's being pumped out of their basement out of sump pumps, and the drainage system just cannot handle the water. So they came to me asking if we would potentially let them tie into our drainage system out on East Street. Right now the water is naturally flowing there because it's so deep and so much it just gets high enough that it's going there. And I discussed this a little bit with Randy, and I think if they hire an engineer and really look at the project and make it so it meets all our criteria for stormwater discharge, that I really don't see it being a problem for us. I in this situation, I think we're just being good people to them to allow them to do that. They're kind of trapped there with nothing to do with their water. It's not an ideal location to discharge any water, and it's something we normally don't do. That's why I wanted to bring it to the board and ask your thoughts on that.
Scott, you're saying this would be 100% at their cost?
Yes, all they would be looking for, Molly, is permission to tie into a manhole between the two properties, between the post office exit driveway and their entrance. So everything would be on them.
Has any other property owner made such a request and we've denied it in the past, to your knowledge, or?
Not that I know of, no.
Are you talking about the driveway that's right past the post office?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a mess there. And that, I mean,
Post office.
even the post office there, when they started to do the Route 9 project and they went down East Street there, that whole thing flooded every time you turned around. It was terrible. And I don't know if it was having to do with the construction and how the drainage went, but the post office was flooded all the time, as was that other piece of property right there. And it seems like they did put in a manhole there right near the post office, and that water is flowing in there to beat the Banshee, but it's not coming off of where the water is out of that other driveway.
Yes, it is.
Well, not very well.
Well, so the problem with that site is the water table is really high. Because Joyce and I meet at the post office quite frequently. But anyhow, all winter I've wondered, why is that water not frozen?
Yeah.
And I talked to Scott about it last week, and this is when this came up. But anyhow, the water table's so high that the building at 190 Russell Street, it has a sump pump going constantly. And that fills up their driveway in that north corner, and then it overflows down their driveway and down into the Route 9 catch basins. So my contention is they're not going to fix it by cleaning out their catch basins or moving them to some other place on the property, because the water table is going to cause the same issue. Ultimately, if we do nothing, the water is going to end up in our system anyhow. So why not make it easy for the customers that go in that driveway, especially this time of the year where it could be ice every morning, eliminate the problem and make it go away.
Okay,
The post office into the problem?
The post office is fixed, I believe,
Oh, good.
at least for now.
Yeah, the post office will be 100% when they do final paving and final adjustments there. But it's that new catch basin they put in alleviated, I'd say 90% of their problems. It was an ongoing battle, Joyce, that I was involved with you know, the property owner at 190, the post office in the state. It was a very, very timely, painstaking thing that finally they, agreed to do something there. But it wasn't. It took some arguing back and forth to determine whose problem it was, and finally they decided to do something. So.
okay.
I
Thank you.
move that we let 190 Russell Street at their expense tie into our water system, our drainage system.
Second,
All right, motion seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. We good to go back to the top? We're going to go back to the 3.1 consent agenda. All right, bear with me. Warrants AP 2429S-2, AP 2492S, AP 2429, PR 2414, AP 2428, PR 2413, AP 2340S, AP 2430, AP 2430INS, AP 2431V, AP 2429, minutes from April 27th, 2023, May 4th, 2023, June 21st, 2023, July 19th, 2023, August 2nd, 2023, October 13th, 2023, October 15th, 2023,
That's
So
25th.
25th, 2023, November 27th, 2023, December 6th, 2023, December 20th, 2023, and January 3rd, 2024. One day liquor license. I'm so sorry. Hey, I'm not bad. One day liquor license request for the Friends of the COA. Our opening reception for March 8th, 2024, May 10th, 2024, July 12th, 2024, September 13th, 2024, and November 8th, 2024. One day liquor license request for V1 Vodka at the Newman Center at UMass Open House, February 10th, 2024. One day liquor license request for the Young Men's Club for 3 events. April 27th, 2024, June 22nd, 2024, and October 19th, 2024.
That's just a note for y'all.
Okay,
I'd like to pull the last one out, please.
And could we pull Council on Aging one out as well?
okay.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, sans those 2 items.
second,
All right, pushed by Molly, seconded by Joyce. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So let's start with what's the Friends of Council on Aging?
Just a question in the past, I believe when it's been, I think the Council on Aging, I think the library as well. We've waived the fee for that organization because they're fundraising for the town.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know if the select board would like to do that consistent with prior practice for them.
sure.
Yeah.
So moved.
Yeah, okay, right. So,
You want to second it?
yeah, I'll second that. So we'll approving their one day liquor license requests and waiving the fee.
Okay, all right. Motion by Molly, seconded by Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. And the Young Men's Club?
The representatives just walked. So, in looking at their application, I have a couple of questions. Number one, how soon does one need to apply for, or can one get a one-day liquor license?
You can apply, you can apply anywhere in advance for the calendar year. So this is a normal practice. Not Young Men's Club, I'm sorry, V1, as you saw, we just did it for the COA, and we've also done it for top of the campus at UMass
Mhm.
for in advance. I never let it go over a calendar year. But the Young Men's Club, and I do believe Richard Downey, and I'm thinking JMJ might be John Michkowski Jr., just to
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah.
But I do know that they felt that they wanted to get these before y'all early because they wanted to start booking and hosting, or not hosting, booking events or booking
Their revenue.
performers is the word I'm looking for in advance, and they felt like this was the crucial part of it. I will say that it has not been approved by the ABCC yet, so I would ask that you make it contingent upon ABCC regulation or approval of their pending liquor license request. And I also would ask that you make it contingent upon the conditions that are listed as an attachment in there that came from the joint meeting between Chief Spanknable, Chief Mason, and the building inspector, Tommy Quinlan, with the Young Men's Club. And these are the regulations that were put in place for a prior event. And we thought that that was a really great way to make sure that they're meeting all the needs put forth on a one-day liquor license. So we thought this was a really great starting place of conditions. And I would also like to make the recommendation that you do a check-in after the first one to see if anything needs to be adjusted. This is a really big change. And with one-day liquor licenses, y'all have a lot more authority and ability to adjust for the benefit of the town and the club together to make sure it works.
I think that's true of any, anyone that applies for more than one at a time. Whether it be UMass or, the Mullen Center or football fields or anything like that, that we do take notice whether or not they notified and had fire and police or whoever notified of their events and had gone over anything. So we wouldn't be issuing anything different for them that we did for anybody else. So it would be on the same idea that they would have to follow suit to whatever we do for our other liquor licenses.
Correct. The only difference that I see is this is in a residential area. They're saying 2 events, 3,500 people, 1 event, 5,000 people. I still don't believe that this board has the authority to grant them to have that event. I know we have the authority to grant them the liquor license, but I don't believe we have the authority to grant them permission to have the event.
Yes, we do. It goes with the liquor license.
So we had talked when we had people in the audience in the past about this and the size of the events. And because they have specifically told us how many people they're having, is it something we want to consider to reduce the number of people and hold them to keeping it down?
I don't think we can for an outdoor event because it's not like their usual events have to follow the regulations of the occupancy limits. But if it's an outside event, I don't think there is one.
I think Sean's about to walk right back in the door. There he is. Hi, Sean, you walked out just as we did it.
We were talking about you and you up and left. Your ears were ringing.
Do you want to maybe come up and join us, please?
So what we're saying is that you're held to the same thing as if we extend, is what I said, is when we extend somebody liquor license for a day, as we did for the COA or anything, you would follow under the same jurisdictions as they do, or the Mullen Center or the football stadium or whatever, that, we will look at how the event went. You have to follow all the rules is what we said before, and you being notifying the police, the fire, anybody else and all the conditions that were set forth at our last meeting when your lawyer was here is what we were looking at.
Yep.
So that was the gist of our conversation now. What is the amount? I guess people were concerned about, what do you think the number of people will be at these events?
Normally for the first event, we roughly have anywhere from 12 to 1,500. All contained, all fenced.
Mhm.
Country to country this year. Or this past year, I believe for the July one, I believe was somewhere around 2,000 we had.
Mhm.
And for Fall Fest, it's usually roughly around 12 to 1,500 as well.
What is,
You've got
what is the
hired
title
person.
of the first one?
Spring Fest.
Spring Fest.
It's a UMass party. They raise money for ALS. It's a fundraiser for ALS.
And Sean, did you see on the application that it looks like Johnny put in, it says 3,500.
Up to, that's what we have had ticket sales up to 3,500 people, yes. We have not hit that number yet.
Mhm.
I mean, but we have the spacing for it, and that is.
And
where we're at with that.
then you have one for 5,000 people.
That would be right, country to country, if we had sold 5,000 tickets, yeah.
But this
So.
This is for Spring Fest, June
fall.
It's in
No,
spring, summer,
Summer.
it's July.
Okay. Sorry, I'm mixing up
Okay.
Oktoberfest. Spring.
Oktoberfest
Yeah.
is the fall one.
So July 22nd is which?
July 22nd would be country to country.
And that's the largest one.
That would be probably the largest one, yes.
And that's the one beyond the pavilion. It was what we designated that area for.
Yes, that would be the one that's gonna get rezoned for the 1 days behind the pavilion.
Okay.
And Jennifer, just question, so. And again, when
Yep.
everybody's trying to do the right thing, so.
Yep.
Question there. But just from the standpoint of what we're granting, if we went ahead and we approved these with the conditions and all of that. And there are, if best laid plans go astray at the Spring Fest, right, and we have unforeseen issues. Could we, and would we have the authority to revoke the granted licenses for the next two events at that point? Right?
Absolutely.
So we still retain all the rights to do. that.
Yeah, which is another thing that we did before is, if we have any issues that they've already said they would come right back to us.
We've gotten better with every party that we've thrown. So far, Spring Fest is probably our easiest going one. It usually by 5:30 is done out the door by 6 o'clock. Everybody's out of there. Roads are good. Same with Fall Fest. Fall Fest, we're gonna try to do an in-house one this year and not subsidize it out, and so we're gonna do our own party with that. So that should be better, but everything is enclosed, everything's fenced in. We'll take all the proper steps, measurements, and make sure we comply with you guys, and make sure it works for all of us.
Is there anything you can do to, one of the messages we got was how the sound reverberates to far distance areas. Can you keep?
Well, I spoke with two of the neighbors that are from behind, so we actually are facing the stage more towards Goulet Trucking, South Maple Street area. There's more woods out that way. So we're trying to keep it away from the road and keep it away from 9. So we're gonna try to angle the stage that goes just to the wooded areas. So,
So I don't have to go, I can just hear it.
yeah, right. Sit on your porch, you all set.
Sit in Sarah's backyard. I'll be fine.
Standing at the cows.
I'm not even in town at that point. But anyway, I'm gonna make a motion to grant these licenses for the 3 days event. And it is on contingent. We still have to hear from the ABCC, which you said you've already
We
spoken.
spoke with them. They came out. We've talked to I forget his name, but Jan has come out. We've talked to them, worked with them. They said it should not be an issue at all.
Okay.
It's more of a paperwork issue until they give us the official go ahead.
Yep.
It has to be contingent because they can't have one otherwise. So just contingent upon that. And then you had stepped out already, and the conditions that are set forth by police, fire and
Yep.
building. Oh, you heard it?
We talked, well, that's what we talked.
Okay. So then that would be my recommendation. And
Any and all conditions.
Any and all
So-
Yeah,
conditions.
that's, we said, yeah, any and all conditions you got to put on it.
I just have to put that into a motion. All right.
Make it work.
Set
Joyce.
forth. who's there?
Joyce, this is Rich Downey. I'm sorry. I
Oh,
don't have
whoa.
video capability. If I just may, I did speak with Ralph Sacramone, the executive director of the ABCC. And he said that when we do the one-day licenses, that they are completely separate from our amended license, and it has no effect on the amendment that we're going for. So we're actually trying to get these now so everyone can plan, including Springfest and us. We're actually way behind the 8 ball right now trying to plan these events. So to have that on, because we did have the ABCC director or the investigator out, but we have no idea when he's going to come back with a ruling. It could just be too late for everything at that point.
I believe that's why they're gonna vote on it contingent, so you have the temporary approval. Because right now, that is how it has to go. And I did send you the email showing that from the ABCC, that's from their website. But I think this is a really great solution that allows y'all to go ahead and start planning. Because I don't foresee a problem coming from the ABCC based off of my conversations with them as well. It's just a matter of a formality.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we have some contact with the ABCC to send it to us.
It's really between them and the.
Yeah.
the
Right.
club. Yeah.
That it is between the club and them now. Y'all have done your part, I've done my part. And then the club and y'all by me will all be notified at the same time when it's approved. And then
Jennifer, were you able to speak with Ralph?
I emailed with Ryan Melville about this. So this is the step that we're doing for the town and for y'all is the contingent and not holding it up.
No, I understand that, but I'm just concerned about, possibly risking $100,000 and having the ABC not come back and amend the license, because I'm not sure what it matters if the license gets amended, because this is a one day on a separate area of the land. It has nothing to do with up from the pavilion all the way to East Street.
I don't think we're gonna have a problem. We haven't had any problems from ABCC about any license that we have set forth with changes. I think that they'll be fine with it. So I think we're good in doing what we're doing to move this thing forward so you can plan. This is February, beginning of February, so I'm sure that they're gonna get back to us.
It's usually 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks, so I'm sure that they'll get back to us at that point too, so.
All right, so we have a motion on the table, and I don't want to discuss really anything about the amendment because it's not on the agenda.
Thank you.
So let's motion on the table.
Yeah, I'll second Joyce's motion. I'm just curious to go back to, for discussion. What were you saying, Randy?
I was concerned about our ability to grant the permission to have the event because of the size. Now, I hear what Joyce is saying, and maybe I'm thinking of their club license for trying to do this under their club license. I still think they're two big events for the area, but if it's something that is allowed, then I will stand corrected.
Okay, thank you.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No,
All right.
Jennifer, if I may.
Who's this one?
Johnny.
Well,
That's John.
depends on
Johnny
what you're talking about. That's the
It's,
only,
it's just about that. I applied for the license,
okay.
When?
for the 3-day licenses, and honestly, I got a text at 5:30 tonight that we're on the agenda. So if we just communicate back and forth. So if you can email me the conditions that you have on there from the other events. So we're on the same page.
Johnny, I think what we're voting for is that the presumption is that based on previous conversations, you guys are going to be meeting with all of the, Board of Health and police and DPW and whoever else you need to. And we're approving this contingent upon whatever conditions those municipal departments set forth, as well as the ABCC licensing. And then
No, I understand that. And I know Jennifer brought up that previous last year, what we had going on with the town, police, fire, board of health, etc. So if she could just forward those to me, I'd appreciate that. Just 'cause like I said, I had no communication about this agenda topic tonight.
So Johnny, they're available on board docs, so the posting went live. I'm sorry. There was I guess, misstep. There's so many people that I communicate with, I guess, for the club. I think I need to have a very clear point of contact because I reach out typically to Sean with stuff because he's the manager of record for the ABCC license, but then I have Richard emailing me, I have you. So it's just a little confusing. If we could work on streamlining that, I think we'll all have a better satisfaction on responses. And I don't always mess up because I don't intend to. That being said, the licenses, the conditions are on board docs and I will happily mail them to y'all tomorrow, but I would appreciate it if we could really nail down the point of contact because I think that'll make it better for all of us.
Yep, the 1 days are in my name. I applied for them, so that would be me on those, please.
Okay. What position do you have now, Johnny, at the
I'm the treasurer.
treasurer? Okay.
All right.
I know
Thank you.
that you had a voting there, so I wasn't sure who's the officers or not this year. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, time.
Thank you. Sorry it took so long.
Sorry.
All right, moving on to 4.1, public comments. So it's a period of time for the public to bring their concerns before the select board. We'll leave this time open for 15 minutes. Please limit your comments to about 3 minutes so that other members of the community are able to speak. Is there anybody here for public comments? Nobody. Okay. Moving along, old business. 5.1, which is the public comment policy.
Already. So this was something that y'all had, when the SGC, ruling came out, me, Tallerman and Costa, our town council, provided y'all with this public comment policy. We had, presented it to y'all, y'all had discussed it, it had never been voted on, and then Randy had asked for it to be brought back up. So I did, load everything back up on here. And there was discussion from y'all about the movement or the allowance of people to give their time to someone else to continue the conversation. But I just wanted to circle back around with that with all of y'all as a whole. Since our town council does not recommend that as a policy in the adoption and the public comment. So I really wanted your feedback on that and what your next steps want to be. Do you want that in there, or should we follow, or do you want to follow the town council recommendations?
So it currently is not in this document we're looking at.
I'm sorry?
The splitting speaking time.
No, it is not.
Thank you.
I'm fine with leaving it out.
So isn't,
Is this document specifically for the select board or for all meetings in the town of Hadley?
All of them, it looks like, at meetings of public bodies.
Okay.
So that seems all inclusive.
Can we do that for like school committee?
We
and
can't do that.
planning?
They're elected.
we can only recommend, right?
I believe you can do it under the committees that y'all appoint,
Yeah.
but like
not-
other elected boards, as with other policies, y'all can recommend it to them, but you cannot enforce it upon them.
Okay, I think as long as that's clear.
Okay, but paragraph 6 seems to me that says people cannot assign their time to another.
Right.
And I thought Jane just asked if that was in there.
No, there had been discussion about allowing people to give their time to another person.
Yeah.
But our town council does not recommend that.
Right.
as a policy, and so that's what is in there.
Okay.
Is not allowing it. But
Gotcha.
there had been discussion about allowing it, but I wonder, bring it back around to the recommendation from our town council.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm in favor of that, not of them not being allowed to do that.
Okay.
And just on two, there's a section two, it looks like there's a typo. It says because they are no constitutionally protected.
You don't like that?
How about now?
Or not.
Yes, I will, this is just for y'all to discuss it. I will fix that typo.
Okay, and the first sentence on paragraph 2,
Yes,
do you mean agenda item instead of addenda item?
yes, this is, yeah,
All right, well, we can,
this is funky formatting. If y'all send them to me, I will nip them right up, but I'm getting the notes right now as well.
Okay,
Agenda and constitution, got it, no constitution. Okay, and so I can bring it to y'all at the next meeting for approval?
sounds good.
Fine.
Great, thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Very, very easy.
all right, heading on down to new business. I haven't missed anything, right? Okay.
6-4, I guess.
6-4, I think is where we're at. Updated select board handbook for the new MMA handbook. We have a,
Just
100
a
page
notification,
book for
no
us.
vote on that.
yeah, there you go.
Well, and it was recommended at the MMA conference to have it on an agenda specifically to highlight for the public that the new handbook is publicly available to them. So where you would go to find the handbook, just for people in the viewing audience, if that's okay. Yeah, you would go to MMA.org, which is the Mass Municipal Association. And then under members. And then it's the Mass Selectmen's Association. And then the new handbook is right there. They're actually encouraging us to encourage the public to view the handbook, because there's a lot of really great information in there, and sometimes people get confused about, roles, responsibilities, where to access information. A lot of that is in the handbook. So if you want some light reading, that's where you would go to get it.
I can add that link to your page as well, if that would be helpful.
That'd be great.
Yes.
All right. 6.5, strong town administrator proposal scope of work review from the Collins Center, which we have updated in our board doc.
So you have it, we distributed it at the last meeting, for you guys to take a look at. It's, if you have any questions that you need me to bring back, any questions? I cannot answer details about the scope of work, but I certainly can bring questions back to the Collins Center. And any further discussion, whether you want to go pursue the Collins Center or any questions you have that you need me to answer.
Can we talk about, if it's the pleasure of the board to move forward with this, how we might fund it? Thought that might be a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, so we did talk, Linda and I spoke, it is, you can make it into payments. And they actually break it up purposefully into payments, beginning and end, so it's $10,000. I think that given that amount, there are some items in the town administration budget as well as HR that we could take a look at. It's not a huge amount, so I think that we could, but I would want to know for sure if you were interested in this to pursue it.
I'm interested personally. I think there's a lot of benefits for us going this direction.
I certainly think we need to have the details. And, we can say abstract things about it, but I think that if we're seriously looking at trying to make our town more efficient and recognizing that the problems that volunteer boards have, including us, in keeping up with regulations, this may be a way we need to go for the best for the town.
Yeah.
I think the scope of the work has changed drastically over the past years that I've been around. And what's expected or not expected and what should be done or not. So this certainly probably would give us a good scope of how we move forward for the future.
If nobody else has anything to say, then I'm make a motion that we move forward with this and approve the hiring of the Collins Center to do what are they referring to it as? The
Facilitation, yeah.
yeah, have the town administrator act study.
I'll second.
Okay, so
And if I can just, as you discuss, if you have discussions, I just want to clarify for the public as well, that it is a public decision. This is not, this is something you would present to town meeting and go on town meeting. So I think that's important to know. This is
Yeah,
a decision solely made by the select board. And then it actually, then at that point, if it's favorable at town meeting, it goes to the state.
yes, this is really just the beginning of a
Just to
process.
begin.
Yep.
All right, motioned by Molly, seconded by Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. All right, so we have 6.6, softball fields bid award. The Park and Rec Commissioners are recommending the awarding of softball field IFB.
The Park and Rec Commission voted at their meeting on February 5th to award the contract to Mountain View Landscaping. I did include the bid tabulation form for there for you to review. They did come in at the lowest bid and their bid was complete. So I would also request that you award the bid for the IFB for the softball fields to Mountain View Landscaping.
Yeah, motion to approve the awarding of the bid for the softball fields to Mountain View Landscaping as presented.
Second.
Motion by Molly, seconded by Randy. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. 6.7 personnel contract renewals and compensatory memorandum.
Nice on the flag correction.
I'm
No
sorry.
data in our notes. Except for the chief.
So we just, we already did these, right, in executive session. So this is just the motion, the recommended action is the motion.
Make a motion to accept the chief of police.
Second.
Or just
I'm
one at a time, please, Joyce.
chief of police contract.
Second.
All right, motion by Joyce, seconded by Molly. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Next.
Make a motion to accept the building inspector's offer of employment. Is that what we're doing?
I think it's the motion to adjust the salary, yeah.
Adjust the salary for the building
I
inspector.
don't have any of that shit, man.
It's right there.
Oh, motion to salary
This is about recording.
building inspector for $105,000.
Second.
All right, motion by Joyce, seconded by Molly. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Question, in 6.7, the description,
Mhm.
it has chief of police, building inspector, police lieutenants and dispatch supervisor, but we don't have a motion for them. So
That was just, I'm sorry, they're just their compensatory memorandums. And there is not really a change to them in the same way. Am I mistaken?
I don't know what this one is.
The MOAs that we.
That you approved?
that we
So the
approved.
motion would just be the same with those, that it's a motion to acknowledge the compensatory memorandums for the 2 police lieutenants and the dispatch supervisor.
okay, yeah, I just assume take the vote just in case.
Absolutely.
So a motion to accept the
MOA.
MOAs?
No, I'm sorry, it's the compensatory memorandum. It's not an MOA.
Got it. Okay. Motion to accept the compensatory memoranda for the police lieutenants and dispatch supervisor.
Second.
All right, motion by Molly, seconded by Joyce. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
I,
Any other items not anticipated 48 hours in advance? All right,
I guess we have to wait on the fire, huh?
yeah,
They were called out to an emergency, but we'll make them number one for the next meeting.
okay.
Can we vote without them being here?
If you wanted to
It
introduce.
was no vote, it was just a strong
Introduction?
so he
Okay.
just wanted to introduce.
Okay.
introduce them.
Okay. 8.1, Town Administrator Report.
I'll be real fast. So the positions that were in process right now, DPW highway, there was one applicant, but miraculously, by this meeting, we have 5 applicants that will be interviewing,
Yay.
which is great. We haven't
That's
seen
great.
that in a long time. There is the assistant to the treasurer, that has been filled by a temp agency, and they've met with that candidate. He'll be starting on Friday. And this, having the production system has been filled and appointed. We have some interviews on Thursday, February 15th for police officer, and there is some offers made to a full-time police officer and as well as so those are waiting for the candidate's response. I mentioned before, I just wanted to, this is part of my report, that the new collective bargaining unit with the municipal employees, which includes the administrative staff for all of the departments in town. That continues to be in negotiations. Classification, compensation, succession, we've had your first read and review. We'll be bringing that up probably the next one for more input. We met with Bill, the fiber update. There is no update, just so you know, in case you didn't know, 24/7 for fire and ambulance began last week. And I'm gonna skip down. So the grants that they were waiting for the support and incentive grant for more training resources for the communications and equipment. That was all the work that went into that was Megan Cahill, and they were awarded $115,000, which is great. It's the most they've ever gotten.
You should have said something while she was here.
I know, it's too bad, yeah. Let's see. I'm just skipping the ones that down to just things are status quo. The Russell School reuse study that is waiting for town council signature on the contract. They signed and we signed, and kickoff meeting is waiting to be scheduled. No real updates on the supplemental shelter at this point.
Did the state ever come in with a person for the?
Yeah.
They did.
They have two agencies involved now, the Center for New Americans and the Department of Housing and Livable Communities. So there's certain other resources going into it.
Good.
Reminder of annual town meeting, May 2nd, and then the election dates are here. March 5th, the presidential primary, May 21st, the annual town election, September 3rd is the state primary, and November 5th is the state election.
So one of the things that we heard about the Spectrum contract is that we have to have a public forum before March 24th. I think we should get that on the agenda.
Yeah,
fairly
so
soon.
mention that. We're working on that.
Working on a date
Yep.
for that. Okay.
We have to have this first.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
Oh, no, what? I did put another document in there. We had a great powwow with the DPW director, Jennifer Stewart, and Linda Sanderson to go over our all of our DPW projects. We just all needed to be in the same place, and I thought it was a great document to share with you. It's not it's not a pristine document, but it will help you see all of the projects that we announced.
Keeps them busy.
All right. Number 9, select board members' items for future discussion. Is there anything that anybody would like to add?
Yeah, at some point, and Carolyn, whenever you think it's appropriate from a timing standpoint, can we talk about capital planning, like how that's working?
I can
and-
give you an update. Yeah, yep, definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Anyone have anything else you'd like to add to the agenda for future discussion? Okay. Any liaison reports?
Oh, we already did fire, police, whatever, that's all done.
All right.
School is nothing new with the school.
All right, announcements. Oh, hand raised.
I would like to make some announcements. The annual reports are due from all boards and committees, including the select board chair, by February 15th. And if any boards and committees have not gotten them in, they really need to make sure that happens. Also, the select board, y'all are now looking for dedications for the annual report and the Fred Oakley. I'd like you to put a timeline on that. I don't, can they make that decision or they can't? The time on when to get them submitted by? Yeah, I want to, well, I worry about open meeting law, so I didn't want to do anything. Can we just put a date of March 31st? All recommendations have to be in by that date. And they can submit them to me. They can do info@hadleyma.gov. And any recommendations y'all have for all of them, I have not found the people that you've asked me for yet. So that leads me to suspect that they're not there. But I still have quite a few to look through. So
Okay, so if they haven't been, that would be one
They got
to.
it previously.
they did? What year? I couldn't find it.
I thought they did too, don't you?
Who?
Ken and Judy
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
I did.
Parker.
I thought they did.
I just did a quick
But
search
stuff's from
on the
there.
ones on there and I didn't see it, but I'll go back and look again.
They
But-
may not have been town book, they could have been in a Oakley Award
Okay.
or something like that.
I did receive a recommendation today for someone who I think is pretty great, but we'll leave that for later. But those are my two big and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I guess I have a few condolences for this evening. Christopher Dixon, condolences to him and his family. Recently had passed. William O'Neill, his wife Elizabeth and sons Kenneth and his son Dennis lives here in Hadley. So condolences to his family. Jean Tudrin, a lifelong resident of Hadley. Her sisters, Kathy and Margaret, are still alive and our condolences to them and to their other family members, nieces and grandnieces and nephews. And then there is also condolences to John Allen for his passing of his wife Heidi. I remember Heidi fondly, being in Mother's Club with her for years. We had a great time back in those days and she was a hoot. So I really enjoyed Heidi and so sorry of her passing. So condolences to John and the 3 children.
All right. Any other announcements? I get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion by Randy, seconded by Joyce. Roll call vote.
Nope.
No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Before 8.